McLaren's celebration of their second consecutive Constructors' Championship was overshadowed by internal drama at the Singapore Grand Prix, where Oscar Piastri expressed clear frustration with teammate Lando Norris after a first-lap incident that he felt was unfairly handled by the team. The Australian driver's radio messages during the race revealed growing anger at both his teammates' driving and McLaren's decision not to take action. The incident that sparked the controversy happened at the very start of the race. Norris, starting from 5th place on the grid, made an aggressive move down the inside of Turn 1 as the field bunched up into the first corner. Piastri, who had qualified 3rd, was running ahead of his teammate when Norris attempted the overtake. What followed was a sequence of contact that would define much of the race's narrative. Norris first made contact with Max Verstappen's Red Bull as he tried to avoid running into the back of the championship contender. This initial touch damaged Norris's front wing end plate, but the McLaren driver's momentum carried him sideways into Piastri. The contact with his teammate allowed Norris to move ahead into 3rd place, while Piastri's progress was checked and he found himself running 4th. Piastri's immediate reaction over the team radio was telling. That wasn't very team-like, but sure, he said, his frustration already evident in the tone of his voice. This was just the beginning of what would become an increasingly heated exchange between the championship leader and his team throughout the race. As the laps progressed, and it became clear that McLaren was not planning to address the incident, Piastri's frustration grew. "Are we cool with Lando just barging me out of the way?" he asked his engineer Tom Stallard, making it clear that he expected some form of action from the team. The question highlighted Piastri's belief that Norris had gained an unfair advantage through contact that violated McLaren's internal rule. McLaren's response was measured but ultimately disappointing for Piastri. Stallard told him that the team was looking at it, suggesting that they were reviewing the incident and considering their options. However, when the team's decision came through, it was not what Piastri wanted to hear. McLaren announced that they would take no action in the race because Lando had to avoid Verstappen and that they would review it afterwards. This explanation did little to calm Piastri's anger. His response was immediate and unfiltered. "That's not fair," he said before using an expletive to describe Norris avoiding Verstappen by crashing into his teammate. The radio exchange revealed the depth of Piastri's frustration, not just with the incident itself, but with what he saw as the team's failure to enforce their own rules. McLaren's internal policy is supposed to be straightforward. The drivers are free to race each other, but they must not make contact. This rule exists to prevent exactly the kind of situation that unfolded in Singapore, where one driver gains an advantage through contact with their teammate. However, the team found themselves in a difficult position trying to balance fairness with the practical realities of racing. The context for Piastri's anger goes beyond just this single incident. This was the latest in a series of situations where McLaren's handling of their internal dynamics has appeared to work against the championship leader in Hungary back in August. Piastri was the lead McLaren driver, but Norris was allowed to switch strategies in a move that eventually led to the British driver winning the race. While strategy calls a part of racing, the decision left Piastri feeling that his position as the lead driver wasn't being respected. More recently, in Italy in September, McLaren ordered Piastri to give second place back to Norris after a slow pit stop for the British driver combined with an unusual team decision to pit Piastri first led to Norris losing his position. Piastri had objected to that decision, arguing that they had previously agreed that slow pit stops were to be considered part of racing and therefore not something that should be corrected. Despite his objections, he had complied with the team order. Each of these incidents has contributed to a growing sense that McLaren's approach to managing their drivers has consistently worked against Piastri despite him leading the championship. The pattern has created tension within the team and raised questions about whether McLaren is truly committed to supporting their championship leader or if they are favoring Norris. Norris's perspective on the Singapore incident was markedly different from his teammates. In his post-race interview, the British driver showed no acknowledgement that he had done anything wrong. "It was slippery, but it's racing," Norris said when asked about the first lap contact. "I put on the inside, had a small correction, but nothing more than that. It was good racing." I felt like I did everything I could today, but I'm happy with that. This response highlighted the different ways the two drivers viewed the incident. While Piastri saw it as an unfair move that violated team rules, Norris characterized it as normal racing contact that was simply part of the sport. His description of having a small correction downplayed the significance of the contact and suggested that he didn't see it as his fault. The championship implications of the incident and McLaren's handling of it are significant. Piastri's lead in the Drivers' Championship was cut to 22 points over Norris, with Verstappen also closing in and now sitting 63 points behind the leader. With 6 races remaining in the season, every point matters, and the positions gained or lost through incidents like this could prove crucial in determining the final championship outcome. What made the situation even more frustrating for Piastri was that he had been running ahead of Norris before the contact occurred. He had qualified better than his teammate and had made a clean start to the race. The contact not only cost him track position, but also potentially valuable championship points as he finished 4th, while Norris took 3rd place. The incident also affected the race outcome in other ways. Piastri was delayed by a slow pit stop later in the race, which dropped him 9 seconds behind Norris when he had been only 4 seconds back beforehand. This meant that even when he closed the gap in the final stages of the race, he was unable to mount a serious challenge for the podium position that might have been his without the first lap contact. McLaren's Constructors' Championship success should have been the main story of the Singapore Grand Prix. The team secured their 2nd consecutive title with 6 races still remaining, matching the timeline of Red Bull's dominance 2 years ago. It was a reward for a season of consistent excellence, with both drivers regularly delivering results at the front and the car proving to be the class of the field on average. However, the internal drama between their drivers overshadowed what should have been a moment of pure celebration. Instead of focusing on their team achievement, McLaren found themselves dealing with questions about their driver management and whether they were handling the championship fight fairly. The team's promise to review it afterwards suggests that there will be internal discussions about the incident and how to prevent similar situations in the future. McLaren faces the challenging task of managing 2 drivers who are both capable of winning the championship while maintaining team harmony and ensuring that their internal rules are consistently applied. Looking ahead, this incident is likely to have lasting effects on the relationship between Piastri and Norris, as well as on how McLaren manages their drivers in the remaining races. With the championship fight still very much alive and tensions clearly running high, the team will need to find a way to balance supporting both drivers while ensuring that their internal policies are respected and enforced consistently.